Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and this week marks the return of Invincible. Oh, I bet you thought I was gonna do the title card thing. Please guys, come on. I have standards. Well anyways, as I mentioned, is making its return this week. So I thought I would do an Invincible video. There are many, and I mean many memes that spawned off the show. And the one I like the most is the power scaling one. Figures, I know. But it basically involves a meme where people say that Uncle Grandpa would beat Omni-Man. Mostly due to his Toon Force nature. Yes, it's one of those matchups. Well today I will see if the memes actually hold up to scrutiny. Or in other words, join me today as we will find out if Uncle Grandpa has what it takes to actually beat Omni-Man. But before that, if you guys like the power scaling content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We post weekly videos from Godzilla to Five Nights at Freddy's. This is the channel you want to be at. But with all that garbage out the way, let's get into the matchup. In order to get a comprehensive answer to this question, I'm going to be giving Omni-Man the benefit of the doubt. I will be discussing his higher ends in canon, and I'll give him some of his crossover scaling. I wouldn't say that I'm using comp Omni-Man for this video because I'm not aware of every version of Omni-Man, but this is an Omni-Man much stronger than if I was using canon consistent Omni-Man, for example. So let's just start right there. What is the canon and what's consistent? So starting off with Invincible scaling, and I've been around the rodeo a couple times now, and from what I've gathered, the consistent ends for Invincible and canon are around multi-continental to planetary. So starting off with some of the more conservative ends, during a fight with Alan the Alien, Mark is able to ram him into the moon so hard that debris is shown to fly off into space, with the generated energy from this feat being calculated to be anywhere from the petatons to the exatons to even the zetatons. So anywhere from multi-continental to small planetary. Omni-Man scales to Mark during this time period for very obvious reasons. Some feats that are consistent with the lower ends of that calculation include a feat in which Mark is able to endure the largest solar flare ever, meaning that it's more potent than the Carrington event, which outputted around 9.56 petatons of TNT, or multi-continental. And as previously mentioned, Mark no-sold this explosion. He doesn't even have a scratch on him, meaning that any of Omni-Man's blows are more potent than this solar flare. There's also the fact that Viltrumites, narratively speaking, are planet/civilization wipers, due to them being able to destroy worlds or planets, specifically during their conquest or during especially fierce battles. Thrag even states that 37 fodder Viltrumites can tear the planet in half, though it should be noted that Thrag says us, which would include him, and Thrag at this point in time is not a fodder Viltrumite, as Thrag could throw characters who could fight multiple Viltrumites at once, even calling them trash while doing it. Omni-Man showed relativity to Thrag. Granted, it was the barest of minimum of scaling to him, but relativity was established nonetheless. Tearing the planet in half is easily a multi-continental to small planetary feat, though it's kind of a weird thing to use, as it involves us using Thrag's word and looking at it at the most face value interpretation, as well as giving the feat in question the benefit of the doubt. Though he said it would be fair retribution for what happened to planet Viltrum, so maybe interpreting it that way has some credibility after all. Moving on to much more concrete stuff, Omni-Man in the animated series is stated to have diverted a meteor the size of Texas, with the feat being calculated to be the equivalent to anywhere from 1.3 exatons to even 55 exatons of TNT, or anywhere from multi-continental to moon level. Moving on to the much more spicy ends of Invincible scaling, we're gonna have to get into the destruction of the planet Viltrum, which is kind of contentious in itself, but due to the nature of this video, it's gonna be irrelevant for today at least. The feat in question was shared in between 3 Viltrumites, including Omni-Man himself. So assuming that all 3 of these guys scaled to the proportional amount of force in order to produce such a feat, they would have had to have been outputting anywhere from 13 to even 695 zetatons of TNT, or anywhere from small planetary to large planetary. Moving up the chain to more cosmic scaling, we're gonna have to talk about a character known as Omnipotus, who's a fodder filler villain, and he gets laid out by mid-tiers of the verse, who Omni-Man should upscale. Omnipotus is said to have cosmic power that laid waste to an entire solar system. He absorbs the power of what he destroys, so it being a chain reaction is irrelevant, as he would scale to this solar system pretty much automatically using his powers. He's also said to have unlimited power, and he also said that he drained all of his universe, granting him galactic to even universal power. This challenge skein is kind of a wank highball, but I'm just gonna put it out there. And you could even argue that the celestial body, the cosmic power, is consistent using crossovers between the Tick and Supreme respectively. In a crossover with the Tick, Mark and the Tick are able to push a planet into another planet. When calculated, the feat would be in the small planetary range of power. And in a crossover with Supreme, Omni-Man is able to fight on par with Supreme, who scales the casual planetary feats, as well as characters who can sew together black holes, as well as the verse having some universe arguments in itself. So Omni-Man being able to go bar for bar with Supreme is actually pretty impressive. So you could use the crossovers on top of the highball canon continuity crossovers to argue that level of power for high tiers and Invincible, including Omni-Man. Now moving on to speed, Omni-Man's able to casually perform mastery fashion and light plus feats. This includes a very infamous feat in which Omni-Man is able to find a planet outside of the galaxy in less than 2 weeks. And before you say that's his travel speed and his reactions don't scale to that, characters such as Alan the Alien, who kind of play the role of cop of the universe, have to cross interstellar distances on a regular basis. And then you have supplementary material confirming that Alan's reaction time is relative to his travel speed. This is notable because even Mark at the start of Invincible is able to press and fight on par with Alan. So to wrap this part of the video up, Invincible scaling is anywhere from planetary to even universal using the higher end interpretations. Now granted, personally I have contention with anything that's above planetary to be honest, but seeing as how he's going against Uncle Grandpa, as ridiculous as it sounds, Omni-Man's gonna need all the help he can get. But before I get ahead of myself, how strong exactly is Uncle Grandpa? Now, as you guys know, Uncle Grandpa is a very blatant Toon Force user. I don't think that's pretty contentious, but like I have said before, Toon Force is awesome and all, but it doesn't really inherently equate to a high attack potency. So let's look at Uncle Grandpa's feats. Uncle Grandpa has shown the ability to warp to the size of planets, survive black holes, destroy the surface of the moon, and even destroy the rings of Saturn as well. To put the size of the rings into perspective, the gas giant's rings are so massive and expansive that they could fit 1 billion Earths unironically. So Uncle Grandpa being able to destroy them or warp to the size of them should easily be a planetary feat. But just like that, we can get into the universal levels of power with Uncle Grandpa. In one episode of Uncle Grandpa, he has to help a kid clean his room, and he resorts to using a cow that sucks in the mess. Problem is though, the same cow goes on to suck the entire universe, even going as far to suck up the entire space as represented by the white void that they're in. I've seen people say that Uncle Grandpa has universal durability off of this, but the cow wasn't really going for them when sucking up the universe, so I don't really scale that to them. A much better way to scale Uncle Grandpa to the universal levels of power is that the same cow tries to suck him up, and Uncle Grandpa shows the ability to resist the cow's suck, and he even holds the cow's jaws up. Said cow we just witnessed sucked the entire universe pretty much effortlessly. So that's a pretty direct comparison right there. Universal Uncle Grandpa is actually surprisingly consistent, as he's able to destroy the white void in some instances. But moving on to the comics for a little bit, he's also shown the ability to destroy space-time, granting him 4D or universal plus scaling. He has Belly Bag, who's confirmed to have infinite space, as well as being able to suck in the entire universe. But going back to the show now, Uncle Grandpa has shown the ability to destroy the entire universe. And before you say that's a galaxy, Uncle Grandpa confirms himself it's a universe. In the crossovers Say Uncle, it's confirmed by Garnet that he's a threat to the very universe itself. And yeah, I know it's not canon or anything, but with the numerous universal feats in canon, I don't think it's that blasphemous to use, like as a side thing for good measure. And you can get him higher than universal, as in crossover games. He's said to have fought entities that were a threat to the entire multiverse. But seeing as how this multiverse contains other cosmologies such as regular shows, which contains 5D constructs, and Adventure Time's cosmology, which has an infinite multiverse, you could argue a lot higher than multiversal for Uncle Grandpa, but I'm not feeling too crazy today. You guys are not ready for Uncle Grandpa scaling. Moving on to speed now, he's easily massively faster than the speed of light. I can stop right there to be honest, as he's shown on screen to move his hands so fast, he can erase the entire known universe in seconds, which is much faster than crossing a galaxy in a week or two. As for durability, it's unsurprisingly inconsistent, but this could be attributed to his toon nature, as it's a core aspect to their narrative as well. Cartoon characters aren't like shonen protagonists, as their stories don't really revolve around power and becoming stronger, so they're more or less limited to a whatever is funny situation. Think about characters such as SpongeBob or the Looney Tunes. 1 second to destroy the universe, or boxing with characters such as Mr. Mixie Pixelate, and the next second they're running away from shotguns or can barely lift up 2 teddy bears. I think attempting to downplay any gag character to their inconsistency would just be missing the point of a cartoon character, as in inconsistency is the whole point of being a gag character, especially someone like Uncle Grandpa, whose premise is that he's everyone in the world's uncle and grandpa, which is preposterous in itself, but as a cartoon character it just is. But moving on to his Toon Force and what he can do with it, he can break the fourth wall, he has dimensional storage via Belly Bag, he's a casual reality warper, and he has body control, with him being able to change the shape of his body and play around with his limbs and body parts. All these hacks are pretty good, but it's really dangerous because he has them to a universal to multiversal scale. So to answer the the original question proposed by this video, yes, Uncle Grandpa could beat Omni-Man. Even when giving Omni-Man his highest end interpretations and crossover wank, Uncle Grandpa could outscale by a potentially infinite degree. For starters, he's much stronger and faster than Omni-Man, and his Toon Force limitations aren't relevant for this matchup, as Toons are inherently limited by the plot to whatever is funny. But Uncle Grandpa clowning on a villain such as Omni-Man should constitute as what's funny to his narrative. So Uncle Grandpa's Toon Force in combination with his shown attack potency should be more than enough to beat Omni-Man. So in conclusion, as ridiculous as it sounds, the memes and jokes actually provided an accurate assessment of what would actually happen. And just like that, we're done with another video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see more content like this, be sure to support the channel. We'll be back next week, and until then, stay big, G fans.